Hello everybody, John here from Gaming in the Wild, and I've got a new video for you today. It's about time that I did a little November roundup of all the games that are coming out this month. And it's a little bit late, we're already 2 weeks into the month, but that does mean that we get the benefit of having the Metacritic scores for a lot of the games that I'm going to talk about, so we can see how the world has responded to some of these new games. Most of them are indie games, but I've thrown in a couple of AAA releases just for good measure. So whether you're looking for some indie gems that you've never heard of before, or you just want to keep tabs on the big games that have been coming out, I've got something for you in this video. If you enjoy it, I'd love it if you dropped a like on the video so more people will see it. And if you've been playing some games that I've missed this month that you think I should check out, please drop them in the comments. I would love to hear from you about what you've been playing. You can always subscribe to the channel for more like this, and I will let you know about the channel's Patreon and Discord community at the end. So on the first of the month, Albatross came out, developed by Among Giants and published by So Disco. It's a Steam-only release for now, and it's an interesting hiking and road-tripping RPG with some excellent graphics. It has this lovely wooded mountain art style with really huge mountains that rear up in the distance as you're driving around. I'm always looking for a really fun road trip game or walking game. I really like games where you can just explore a beautiful environment and not have to think too much. But that said, I did try the demo of this at Next Fest, and I found it to be pretty buggy and glitchy. It didn't run very well on my handheld ROG Ally on any settings. But the concept here is great, just journeying across a large-scale wilderness. If you've played Albatross, then please let me know how the final release came out, because although the demo was really buggy and glitchy, I'm quite curious about this one. It only has 2 reviews so far on Metacritic, but they were both 7 or 8 out of 10, so it's being quite well received. That's Albatross. On the 6th we got Mirthwood by Bad Ridge and published by V. This is a game that mixes up a sort of top-down dungeon crawler type thing with sword combat and a life sim where you get to build a village, build your own farm, make decisions, make friends and that kind of stuff. This one only has a 65 on Metacritic, which is quite surprising because it had a little bit of buzz ahead of release, not least from friend of the channel No Caps. I will leave a link here so you can go and check out their video about this game. But I did notice a few reviewers commenting on how they were trying to have a cozy medieval life sim experience, but they kept getting killed because of starvation and bandits and stuff like that, so perhaps there's a bit more of a survival element here as well. That's Mirthwood, it's out now on Steam. On the 7th we got Mario & Luigi Brothership, the latest in the series. It started on the Game Boy DS, I believe. I watched a stream of this one and it looks like the definition of a Nintendo B game. The visuals look several generations old, and I have to say the gameplay looked very familiar as well. The critics have not been especially kind to this one. It's sitting on a 79, which is very low for a Mario game, but I'm sure there's a lot of Nintendo fans out there who are just dying for something new to play, so check out Mario & Luigi Brothership, and if you have been playing it, please set me straight in the comments if you've been having a good time. Also on the 7th we got Empire of the Ants. This is a really interesting photorealistic insect simulator made by Microids. In this game you play as a lowly ant. You get to explore a beautiful natural wilderness from an ant's eye perspective. And just like an ant, your feet will grip anything, so you can walk up trees, you can walk up grass blades, you can walk on leaves. But as well as all of the beauty of this natural environment, there are also some tactical battle elements where you'll have to use menus to control your ants and to fend off termites and enemy bugs and that kind of thing. This is a really interesting concept. I've played a couple of insect sims before because I really like games that allow you to do things that you just can't do in the real world, like seeing the world from a different perspective. And this game certainly ticks that box. It's got a 77 on Metacritic. It got a very positive review from friend of the show, Brad Galloway. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. I've applied for a review code for this because I'm really curious to check it out. That's Empire of the Ants. On the 8th of the month, we got Two Falls, which is also called Nishu Takuashina. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. It's developed by Unreliable Narrators, and it's out on Steam. It's a third-person, 3 to 4 hour narrative adventure set in the 17th century. You play as 2 characters. You play as a French girl and also a native girl. And you get to see how their life paths cross. I think that's a really interesting premise for a game. I'm going to guess that it's going to look at identity and colonization and that kind of thing, which is a really rich topic, I think, for a video game. It's a nice length too. I love a game that you can polish off in a weekend, so I'm quite curious to check that one out. That's Two Falls, Nishu Takuashina. And although spooky season is over, Slitterhead came out on the 8th of this month by Bokeh. It's out on PlayStation, Xbox and Steam. This is a horror game from the director of the original Silent Hill game and the Gravity Rush games, 2 very underrated games that I really, really love. This is a horror game full of grotesque monsters that inhabit people and then burst out of them and chase you, I guess in the vein of things like Dead Space and Resident Evil 4. But the thing that really draws me to this one is the environment. And we've seen a spate of Kowloon walled city inspired environments lately in games like Eastward and Stray, and now we have it in Slitterhead as well. So there's lots of neon, there's lots of teetering buildings, it's really vibey. And I saw a tweet about this one from Citizen Sleeper maker Gareth Damian Martin. Gareth is someone who's very trustworthy about games, I think, and although they said that the combat is just okay, they said that the environments are beautiful and that the game has vibes to spare, and they've been sharing lots of screenshots from it. So that's a pretty strong endorsement right there. I think I'll wait for this one to land on Game Pass or come on a significant sale, but if you want a horror fix, check it out. That's Slitterhead, out now on PlayStation, Xbox and Steam. On the 12th, we got Rise of the Golden Idol by Color Grey and published by PlayStack. This one is quite a rapidly turned around sequel to the much-loved pixel art detective game Case of the Golden Idol, in which you examine objects, you look through papers, and you try to figure out what's going on in any given scene using your powers of deduction. I tried Rise of the Golden Idol and I really couldn't figure things out. My brain just doesn't work this way, I think. I am no Poirot, but I know a lot of people really loved this one, so if you're a fan of Case of the Golden Idol, then Rise of the Golden Idol is out now on all the consoles and Steam. On the 12th, we got Tetris Forever by Digital Eclipse. It's another one of their archival game efforts. This time it's about the many versions of Tetris. And Tetris is one of the most legally disputed games ever. If you saw the recent Apple TV movie about the various rights struggles that existed when Tetris was first invented, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm sure this was a difficult one to put together, and the critics have said that this is a bit of a potted history. It misses a lot of different versions of Tetris, very significant ones at that. So it's by no means a completionist version, but if you are a Tetris fan who likes to follow new developments with the classic block-falling puzzle game, then check out Tetris Forever. It's got an 82 on Metacritic and it's out now. That brings us almost up to date as I'm recording this, because it is the 14th. That means that LEGO Horizon came out today by Studio Gobo with help from Guerrilla Games, of course. This is a LEGO game based on the Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West games, in which you play as Aloy in LEGO form. And I'm a huge Horizon fan, but I have played a couple of LEGO games before. I played the recent Star Wars one, and I thought it was just okay, really. It's a bit silly and probably targeted mostly at kids. It's also packed with microtransactions, so I think I'll wait for this one to be on deep sale. But if you want to check out LEGO Horizon, it's out now on PlayStation, Switch, and I think Steam as well. Also out today is a really intriguing one called Sorry We're Closed by Alamode, published by Akupara. It's out now on Steam. It's a gothic future survival horror adventure game set in a kind of multi-dimensional tower block. I've played the demo of this one. It's a very slow play. It has that survival horror pace to it, but it has a really great, horrifying, fashionable art style, very memorable imagery. I would say this is a pretty intriguing game all round. So if you are a fan of things like Signalis and so forth, and all of the survival horror games that came before it, then check out Sorry We're Closed, out now on Steam. Only 3 more to go. On the 15th, we get Great God Grove by Limbo Lame and published by the ever-reliable Fellow Traveller. This is another little game from the makers of the mega-creepy Steam oddball game Smile For Me, a really strange little game in which you walk around what seems to be like either an apartment block or some kind of assisted living facility. Everyone is very weird, it's very odd. It feels like you're on some strange medication and the world has gone very weird. So I'm very curious about anything that Limbo Lane produces, and Great God Grove is a game in which you play as a messenger taking mail to various different gods. It seems like they're keeping the weirdness going. The game promises godly crushes, pumpkin fights, and puppets cooking. It promises weird people and weirder gods with third and first person gameplay. And that's more than enough for me to jump on this one. That's Great God Grove, out on the 15th. On the 26th, 9 Souls comes to console. This one came out on May 29th, earlier in the year, on my birthday in fact, so it was a bit of a birthday present for me upon Steam release. It's a mega hard and pretty interesting Sekiro-like platformer. I really loved the gameplay and the audio-visual presentation of this one, but I felt like the writing was a little bit off. However, I know that a lot of people were really dying to try this out who don't have Steam accounts, so if you are one of those people, you can try out 9 Souls on the 26th of the month. And finally, rounding things out on the 28th, we have 30 Birds by Ram Games, published by Arte France. This one's coming to Steam and console. This won the Best of the Next Fest vote amongst the Gaming in the Wild community last month. It's a narrative puzzle game with a lovely stained glass, colourful art style, a bit of a link between worlds or Fez DNA in the shifting 2D world. I'm very, very curious to try this one out. I really do trust the Gaming in the Wild community, and they gave this one top marks. That's 30 Birds, out on the 28th of this month. And just before we call it a day on this video, I thought I would run through a couple of things that I've been playing. I've done this in a couple of other videos and people seem to like it. First of all, I want to talk about Europa. This is a little indie game that came out earlier in the month. It has a beautiful Studio Ghibli look to it and a really gorgeous soundtrack. In fact, we've been listening to music from Europa throughout this video. And it's a bit of a tribute to Journey. In this game, you play as little android boy who is on Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter. You hear voices as you walk through this beautiful world telling you about the history of humanity's attempt to live there. And as you platform and jetpack your way through these really beautiful, fresh environments, you really do get a feeling of freedom. I love games where you get to lift your feet off the floor, where you get to evade gravity and really feel that flight fantasy. And Europa is a really good version of that. I would say that it's a little bit more playable than Journey in some ways. Journey is a classic, but I was always running out of power in my power scarf or whatever, and having to trundle along the ground. Europa is a bit more generous. You get to spend a lot of time in the air. You can stay airborne for entire levels almost, and it's very satisfying to do so. There are also some pickups and a few antagonists where you have to turn off machine turrets and things like that. It's a heavy recommendation from me. That's Europa. I've also been playing a little bit of Metaphor ReFantazio. You may have heard about this one. It is the operatic, sweeping, large-scale fantasy JRPG from the makers of Persona. I'm not a huge Persona fan, but I did try the demo for this one when the reviews dropped, because it had a 95 on Metacritic, which makes it one of the highest reviewed games of the year. And even though it's not my genre, I have found myself quite swept away in this one. It has the most beautiful presentation, the fonts, the UI design, the character design, the fashion, the art style, the orchestral soundtrack. This is really a well-crafted, lovingly crafted game. Something that often gets on my nerves about JRPGs is the grindy combat and the clunky UI, and the lack of fast travel, the strange save systems, the grinding XP. And this game kind of short-circuits a lot of that stuff. It has difficulty modes, it has auto battle, it has instant fast travel to anywhere on the map. You can take breaks halfway through dungeons and dip out to buy more potions, and then come back the next day to finish it off. And I have to say, it's got a really interesting story too. It's about art, it's about creativity, imagination, how fantasy affects reality and can change the worlds. It also has a fine art influence from Hieronymus Bosch, Salvador Dali, a lot of visual flair. So I'm having a really good time with that one. That's Metaphor ReFantazio. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like. You can subscribe to the channel for more like this. And if you would like to join our Discord community and our Patreon-only Discord server, you can do so at patreon.com/gaminginthewild. You will get access to loads of bonus podcasts, behind-the-scenes posts about how I make the videos. And you can come and talk to me and the community about what you're playing and get involved with all of the activities that we have going on behind the scenes. Thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll be back soon with another one, and bye-bye for now.